Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Cosmic Encounter least favorite alien to favorite alien countdown tier list thing.
No.
In the last part, we went over aliens number 28 to 20, and in this video, we'll be going over at least aliens 19 through 11, maybe more. Definitely not less. It depends on how long the actual edit takes and how long the video actually is. So I suppose it's a mystery to me, but not to you, the viewer, which is kind of weird. Anyway, I don't think we have anything to discuss from the last video, or if there is, then editing me will take care of it because the last part is being exported as I'm recording this. So for right now, I think we could just hop right into introducing the next tier. So let's get right into it. The next tier is the Cultured Pigs tier, and these are some of my favorite aliens in the base set of Cosmic Encounter. We're starting to get into the aliens that, if it shows up for me to pick at the start of the game, I'm most likely gonna pick it, or am going to be extremely tempted to pick it. These picks, in my opinion, are the most fun, create the most interesting choices. I would basically just equate it to being the of Cosmic Encounter base set. I think these aliens are really fun. Now, some of these you might disagree with. I have a few picks that are a little I expect some backlash on, so we will see. So without further ado, let's get right into number 19. The first alien we have in the Cultured Pigs tier is Grudge, and Grudge is pretty scary. He has a taxing effect on the game, and he has a taxing effect on me due to his ability basically being built off guilt. And guilt is an emotion I've been talking to my therapist about for a very long time. It's really hard for me to process that. So, like, yeah, this alien, it's just a tough matchup for me. I really like Grudge. I think he adds a really cool dynamic to the game and is a pleasure to play with or against. Grudge has the power of revenge and is usually played by your worst enemy. When Grudge asks a player to ally and they choose not to, he gives them a Grudge token. If Grudge wins that encounter, any player with a Grudge token loses one ship of their choice to the warp. If Grudge loses that encounter, a player with a Grudge token must lose 4 ships of their choice to the warp. Grudge is one of the coolest powers in base Cosmic because his ability deals with the most interesting part of the game, which to me is the politics. Grudge essentially forces you to ally with him, or make a gamble that he's going to win the encounter. That being said, if you're going to gamble on him winning, why not ally with him in the first place? Every time Grudge is a main player, other players are going to have to make an interesting choice. This adds a unique pressure to the game that not a lot of other aliens can really replicate. Playing as Grudge, on the other hand, has a ton of interesting options. You can invite everyone to ally with you, or strategically just try to single a person or two out. If many people don't ally with you, throwing the encounter becomes an even juicier option. I don't think the punishment for not allying with Grudge should be understated either. If you don't ally with Grudge and he loses, you literally lose 20% of your ships. This man has such a grudge that a fifth of your alien population just straight up dies. Grudge is a unique power that puts a lot of pressure on everyone not involved in the encounter as a main player. I would almost consider Grudge the opposite of Parasite. Instead of pressuring main players on every turn but his own, Grudge pressures every player on his turn. Overall, I think Grudge is a great pick if you want to strain some friendships over the night. I really like Masochist. I think Masochist is very interesting. It lets me play the game how I like to play it, which is just sacrificing ships everywhere, but it rewards me for doing it, which is really cool, and it literally forces players to throw against you. It's a more interesting version of, like, 3 different aliens in the game. It's more interesting loser in a way because you're trying to lose, but you get like rewarded for losing. Like you don't win when you lose, you still lose, but losing is good for you. It's like reverse zombie with alternate timeline, like everything is like backwards. Like it's a really cool power The fact that this is in the game is so cool. And alternate win condition aliens are very hit or miss, but I think Masochist is a huge hit. So let's break it down. Masochist has the power to hurt yourself. If at the start of any player's turn, the Masochist player has all of their ships in the warp, Masochist automatically wins the game. Masochist's alternate timeline power is simple, but makes a huge change. Once Masochist's ships are in the warp, they are not coming out. They cannot be removed from the warp, even if a Mobius Tubes is played. Masochist is a very unique power in the sense that you are essentially playing the game backwards. As someone who loves to riskily throw ships away, this power speaks to me personally. At the same time, you can also cheekily gain colonies by appearing to try to throw, so your opponent may play a lower card than they think they should, and then maybe you throw in a card like 15 and win the encounter. This won't work out super well after the first encounter or two, but you also have your alternate win condition to fall back on. Obviously this power really sucks considering that Mobius Tubes exists. With the original card, you either need to have both card zaps in order to block both of the Mobius Tubes from occurring, or you need to get the Mobius Tubes yourself in order to not play them. Either way, the original way this card is supposed to play makes it almost impossible for Masochists to win through their alternate win condition. At the same time, when Masochist gets close to winning and players are scrambling for that Mobius Tubes to get your ships out of the warp, that is a different kind of satisfaction. Masochist puts a unique pressure on the game that no other alien in the game can really compare to. Like I've been saying, your entire playstyle in Cosmic really revolves around what alien you play, but Masochist really pushes that idea to the extreme. Even though it's super difficult to win on this alien, playing as Masochist is so fun that it makes it pretty high on my list. Overall, Masochist is a pretty shitty power that makes for a very interesting game. Next up is Miser. Listen, Miser is a Giga Chad pick, alright? Bro is smoking a fatty while trying to conquer the galaxy. That's insane. Woo! Miser is one of the most unique powers in Cosmic Encounter base set, in my opinion. His power fits into a very unique niche that is really cool, but also counters certain aliens in the game in ways that on the surface level you might not immediately realize. It took a while for me to see the value in his power. He's a very unique power that doesn't feel overbearing, and for that he is quite high on my list. I think he's dope. Yeah, fuck, what else am I supposed to say? Miser has the power to hoard. At the start of the game, Miser gets 2 8-card hands instead of just 1. Miser looks at both of those hands and chooses one to become his hoard. Your hoard can be placed on your alien sheet and is essentially a second hand. The main difference between your hoard and your main hand is that your cards in your hoard cannot be stolen or looked at by any other player. If your hoard runs out of encounter cards, you can reveal the rest of the cards in your hoard and gain 8 new cards into it. I like Miser a lot because he's a very unique power, especially for the base game. Having a hand of cards that cannot be touched is a pretty neat concept. One drawback to Miser is that even though you get to choose which of your 2 starting hands becomes your hoard, there's still a chance that both of your hands at the start of the game are complete ass, making your power not very good. Some Miser games are awesome because you can stash a 40 on turn 1 that no one will ever have info on or access to, or you have 3 negotiates in the back pocket and basically no power. Hope at least one of your 2 opening hands are good, or you're in for a pretty rough game. The cool thing about Miser is definitely in the subtext though. His hoard can't be stolen from or looked at. This makes powers like Mind and Hacker significantly weaker, which is a nice touch. And it's also in character, since I'm pretty sure Miser is supposed to be a mob boss of sorts. Overall, Miser is one of the more unique aliens in the base set of Cosmic, but can sometimes be a drag to play due to bad hand draw RNG. Vacuum is quite the alien in Cosmic, and you really benefit from losing on this one. You know what I mean? I love powers that proc on losing, because you lose a lot in Cosmic. Losing is underrated. Losing is such an underrated concept in general. What is the difference between winning and losing? Why do we put so much value on winning? There's more losing than winning. So many powers in Cosmic benefit from losing, and that's so interesting. And Vacuum is one of those powers. Vacuum is one of those powers where you lose and something cool happens. And in Cosmic, you lose a lot. And I like how the design of Cosmic is not based on purely winning. Cosmic knows you're gonna lose a lot. Like, there's so much in Cosmic where it's just like you lose. There's so many things you can do in Cosmic when you lose to benefit yourself. And Vacuum does that. And it's beautiful and it's great. I love this power. Let's fucking talk about it. Vacuum has the power of Catharsis. Whenever Vacuum loses ships to the warp, he may use his power to send an equal number of ships to go to the warp as well. He may split this number up between players and gets to specify how many each player must lose to the warp. The players losing the ships get to choose which ships go to the warp. So, for example, if Vacuum loses 4 ships in an encounter, he can force one player to lose 2 ships and 2 other players to lose 1 ship. I like Vacuum because I'm a bad person who really likes to throw encounters and also likes getting rewarded for losing. Vacuum allows you to play a bit more recklessly since other players will feel the impact of your losses as well. He gets dragged down by not being able to select which ships get sent to the warp, but if he was able to do that, his power would be pretty busted. I also enjoy how this power can punish other aliens that may otherwise get to play really safe. Observer, for example, can get punished pretty easily by Vacuum. The only problem with Vacuum is that he needs to die in order for his power to proc. Now, I like this. I don't mind losing. It's a power that brings other players down to your level, but doesn't really bring you above their level, if that makes sense. Vacuum is closer to a power like Cudgel or Void, where your power doesn't help you win, but just punishes other players for losing. In this case, though, you're punishing other players for you losing, which is honestly such a funny interaction that having it any lower than 16 would really be a tragedy in my opinion. If you just want to troll and be annoying, which I would never do, then Vacuum is the power for you. Fantastic alien, 10 out of 10, on to the next one. When I die, I hope I reincarnate as Michael B. Jordan. So I will be extremely wealthy, jacked, attractive. This was supposed to be a funny joke, but I clearly wrote this before seeing Creed 3, which was honestly just okay. Reincarnator, though, is a very cool alien. What I really like about Reincarnator is the base set of Cosmic Encounter comes with 51 aliens, right? And you should get a ton of replayability out of that, but after a while, some of the aliens are a bit stale. There are a lot of interesting matchups, but some aliens will just remain stagnant, like Zombie. Reincarnator really rewards you for having knowledge of all the powers in the game, knowing which powers would be good at certain times. If you get a power that you don't like, you can get rid of it. And if it's a power that you do like, you can continue trying to use it for as long as possible. I really like the depth that Reincarnator brings to the game. I think it's a very rewarding alien to play after playing the game for many years. So let's talk about it. Reincarnator has the power of Reincarnation. You don't say. Whenever Reincarnator loses an encounter as a main player or an ally, you pull an unused flare card from the flare deck and become whichever alien that is, assuming it doesn't have game setup text. Reincarnator is a super fun power because once again, you may be seeing a pattern here. Cool shit happens when you lose. Reincarnator has a really unique game loop to him. Sometimes aliens will be better at certain points in the game than others. Take Warrior, for example. A solid pick in the late game, but before that, he is completely useless. In order for Warrior's power to proc, you need to lose. In fact, you actually need to lose a lot, but losing in this case will turn you into another alien. You can run into duds like him, or you can pick up an alien like Virus or Shadow, which can completely change the game. Playing with a Reincarnator in the game honestly feels like a game variant, since alien powers in this game can change the game flow so dramatically. The game becomes much more unpredictable with a Reincarnator in the game. Cosmic characters can often feel way too straightforward or way too gimmicky, and I think Reincarnator walks that line really well. There's chances where a new alien can be an absolute problem, but there's also a chance Reincarnator is going to try their hardest to throw their next encounter as soon as possible. It's a unique power that is both overpowered and underpowered at the same time, which I find very interesting. Before I get into Clone, I actually have to go do something really quick, so I'll be right back. Stay right there. One second. Alright, that's more like it. I've always gravitated towards Clone even though his power is
for sure, man.
pretty straightforward. Yeah. I've always just had really good games on Clone, so it felt pretty disrespectful to place him any lower than 14.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, did you have good games on Clone, or did I have good games on Clone? Bro, shut the fuck up. This bit is not funny. Come on, let's just do it. Clone has the power to replicate. After an encounter ends where you were the main player, you may use this power to keep the card you played in your hand instead of discarding it. Clone is essentially a better version of Filch. Instead of relying on your opponent playing a good card against you, you can repeatedly use the same good card from your hand. There's not a ton of utility with this power, since generally speaking, you are just going to continue using the same high power card that you have had previously. That being said, there are a few angles that I think add some extra depth to this alien. Not only can you keep good cards, but you can also keep bad ones. You'll almost always have a negotiate handy when playing Clone, and you can just copy it after you've already played it. Having a negotiate in your back pocket is pretty useful, since it's all too common to not have access to one when you really need it. Additionally, Clone will most likely copy the same card repeatedly. He gives a ton of information to other players in terms of counterplay. You know what Clone is going to play most likely, assuming that the Clone player has already thrown out and gotten back one card. This allows other players to have a better idea of what they need to do in order to beat Clone, or if they're just going to try to negotiate and steal cards from Clone's hand. Another thing that I really like about Clone, and it's not entirely fair to rank Clone like this, but one other huge bonus of Clone is he pairs very nicely with a bunch of other powers if you're playing with the 2-power variant. The 2-power variant of Cosmic I play is where you play 2 aliens, but keep one alien face down until you activate its power. Clone can really boost a ton of other alien powers, like Virus, Tripler, Pacifist, Mirror, Loser, the list goes on and on. Basically, any game Clone is in, you have to figure out a solution to him if he gets a high card. A Cosmic Zap is usually the answer, but other times you might just be able to beat him down naturally. All in all, I think Clone is a pretty fun power that I've always liked due to its strength, but also its counterplay. I would categorize Barbarian as disrespectful, but I feel that disrespectful is a bit of an understatement. Barbarian has the ability, and I quote, to loot and pillage. He kills your ships, and then he beats you up in real life. Looks like I lost. That sucks. What are you doing, man? What? Jesus. Dude, bro, chill. Oh my God! Oh God! Oh God! Barbarian has the power to loot and pillage. After Barbarian wins an encounter as the offense, he takes his opponent's hand and looks at it. For each ship a Barbarian had in the encounter, he is allowed to steal 1 card. He then discards the rest of his opponent's hand. Barbarian has the power to really ruin someone's night or really make someone's night, which is the beauty of this power. If Barbarian gets a hand that is a juicer, it is absolutely crushing for his opponent. Stealing important attack cards, artifacts, or even flares can feel really bad. Then he just throws the rest of your cards in the dumpster because you definitely did not need those. On the other hand, if you have a shit hand and face this shitty power as the defense, congrats, because Christmas came early. Now you can throw, if you want, and fill Barbarian's hand with shit cards and then dump the rest of your shit cards into the shitter. I think the main thing holding Barbarian back is his power only proccing on the offense, and honestly, I don't know why it's whenever he's not a main player. I don't know why. Maybe that would be too oppressive, but honestly, since his power can really go back and forth between helping and hurting you, I don't think it would be too crazy of a change. It's a shame it doesn't proc more often, because it really does change the dynamic of an encounter. For example, if this procced as the main defender too, players could target Barbarian's home planets with more ships on them to hopefully lose and fill his hand with junk. On the other hand, being forced to fight Barbarian on your turn with a really good hand would turn into a very scary situation. It's a shame this isn't how it's played, or maybe it isn't. Maybe it would actually be a nightmare. I don't know. Lastly, Barbarian directly counters draw a lot lot of card powers since he discards the rest of his opponent's hand. It's actually so weird. I don't think I've seen Barbarian played very often, because honestly, I think he makes the game healthier. If Barbarian was in my game, I'd be begging to lose to him. Like, please come beat the shit out of me, dude. My hand is garbage. Overall, this is a brutal power that can very easily change the course of the game for any player affected by it. I love it. I would like to play it right now, honestly. Let me blow up some hands. Let me see your hands. Put your hands where I can see them. Warpish is the source of one of my favorite cosmic encounter moments, and probably one of my favorite board game moments I've ever had. I was playing a game of Cosmic Encounter where I was playing Warpish, and I believe it was a 7 or 8 player game. It was at least 7 players. It was my turn as the offense, and I was attacking a player. I don't remember what other aliens were in the game, but the TLDR is that I got everyone to ally with my side, so it was a 6v1 with my passive buff already, giving me probably like +8 or so. It looked like a shoo-in victory, but I decided that, you know what, I got a lot of people on my side, and this is looking pretty juicy for the permanent passive +30. Until someone Mobius tubes. So I did what any sane man would do, and I negotiated and killed everyone. The utter shock around the table was pretty crazy. I don't think anyone trusted me for the rest of the game, but it was absolutely worth it. Just for the look on their faces after that negotiate flipped. Just, ugh. What a juicer of a moment. Just absolutely chef's kiss. Put it in a montage of the top 10 most epic gaming moments of all time, man. Warpish has the power of necromancy. Whenever Warpish is a main player, after encounter cards are revealed, you add +1 for each ship in the warp to Warpish's total. I'm not gonna lie, Warpish is a pretty strong power. During a game of Cosmic, there will usually be anywhere from 10 to 30 ships in the warp, giving Warpish an extreme boost of power. That being said, I find it interesting how his power doesn't exactly scale with time during the game. Similar to Masochist, Mobius tubes is Warpish's biggest nightmare. Usually using Mobius tubes is an easy choice, but when Warpish is in the game, you really want to maximize its usage. Instead of using it universally to help everyone, you're actually actively harming another player by using it, which I think is a unique twist. You get stronger and stronger, and then Mobius tubes happens, and suddenly you become useless for a little bit. Then more people die again, and you get stronger once again, and then you get Mobius tubed again. He's not a power that directly scales as the game goes on as you'd think, but a character that progressively goes stronger and weaker throughout the game. I find Warpish much more interesting than Virus or Pacifist, because other players can control how strong Warpish is. Usually, taking ships back from the warp as a defender is overshadowed by drawing cards in my opinion. But when Warpish is in the game, taking ships back from the warp becomes much more vital. Overall, out of the strictly broken aliens in the game, Warpish is probably my favorite. He's a very strong presence, but isn't immune to counterplay. Playing against him feels much more manageable than playing against a Virus or Pacifist in my opinion. And playing as him has more interesting gameplay than them as well. Warpish is a strong power with a lot to think about for all players. Landing right outside my top 10 is Gambler. The main reason for that is I'm almost positive I've never actually played this power. You might be wondering, if I've never played this power, how can I be so confident that I really like it? And one is that I've played this game a lot, so just kind of reading a card, I feel like I can somewhat reasonably walk my way through the game. And two, I have a friend who really likes Gambler and plays Gambler a lot, so I've seen Gambler be played a bunch. Cosmic kind of reminds me of poker in a way, so the fact that they lean into that with this power really attracts me to it. It also rewards game knowledge, it rewards knowledge of how your opponents like to play the game. Basically, the better you are at Cosmic, the more you can do with this alien. It's a very, very high skill ceiling and also a very high skill floor. I would probably argue that it might be the hardest alien to play or get value out of. Either way, I'm really fascinated by this alien, and I think it has a lot of interesting angles you can take with it. Gambler has the power to bluff. After a gambler's opponent reveals their encounter card, you may use this power to bluff. You can state what your encounter card is, and you're allowed to lie about what it is. If your opponent calls your bluff, and you turn out to be telling the truth, they lose ships equal to the amount of ships that Gambler placed in the encounter. If you lied, you lose ships equal to the amount that you have in the encounter. Gambler is a very tricky alien to play. The colored lights on the cosmic alien cards are supposed to show how difficult they are to play, I think, but I'm not totally sure if that means how difficult they are or if it's closer to understanding how toxic they are to the game. Virus and Tripler are extremely straightforward and aren't terribly difficult to use, but they are red alert aliens. Gambler, on the other hand, requires someone to have an immense amount of game knowledge, game sense, and a great poker face. After playing Cosmic enough, you generally know what cards are in the encounter deck. There's 140 in the base deck, a bunch of 8s, a few 12s, and so on. Plus, with so many aliens giving extra knowledge, it's hard to come up with a believable bluff. That being said, it seems ridiculously fun to try. I've played against this power before, and although it struggles to win, it seems like one of the most interesting aliens to play. I'm a huge fan of bluffing in games. Games like Sheriff of Nottingham, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and Citadels really appeal to me. So combining that mechanic with a cosmic card is chef's kiss. This card is so dope. Additionally, his bluff can literally turn a card into any other card. Need to negotiate? There you have it, you have a negotiate. Just say that your card is a negotiate and ta-da, now you're making a deal. Plus, if you actually do have a 40, you essentially get a free few ships from your opponent. You'd be pretty crazy to not call Gambler on a 40 unless you have some sort of knowledge that he has the 40. There's a ton of depth to this character, and it rewards knowledge of both the deck and hand tracking. If you know Gambler's bluff is impossible, there's no reason to not call it out. That being said, you need to be paying enough attention to realize that what he is bluffing about is impossible. Gambler overall does struggle to keep up with some of the stronger aliens in the game though. His power can easily backfire on him, but I think that's by design. Yeah, I mean, he's a gambler, okay? He's got an addiction. And by the way, I do not promote gambling. Don't gamble, guys. Trainwrecks or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, that guy's so dumb, okay? Don't fall for it. But seriously, in a game where some aliens basically have auto-win conditions, playing as Gambler kind of seems like an uphill battle. Overall, Gambler is one of the most skill-expressive aliens in the game that struggles to find his footing in most Cosmic games. A neat alien overshadowed by the fact that he can often just get outsmacked, out-resourced, and outpowered by many of the other aliens in the game.
Hey guys, Icky Panda here. I just want to say thanks for watching. Tune in to the next one. It'll be out hopefully by the end of June. Other than that, just give a like and subscribe and have a good day. Bye.